constructed before the 9th of September, when a decision was taken to discontinue applying it to panzers. Thereafter, Battalion 503 was employed fighting the advancing Red Army, although the battalion put up heavy resistance, in the course of which it notched up its 1500th enemy tank. By early November, it was fighting on the approaches to Budapest. It later participated in the German counterattack at Stolweissenberg. In early January 1945, 503 was renamed Feldernahler, its former number allocated to an SS Tiger battalion. It was involved in heavy fighting in the east until May 1945. Heavy Tank Battalion 506 had employed Tiger 1s on the Eastern Front from July 1943 until ordered back to Germany to refit with the Tiger II in August of 1944. Its first combat operation with the new heavy panzer came a month later in Holland, where it was employed to help crush the Allied attempt to secure a bridge across the Rhine by paratroop assault at Arnhem. The Tiger IIs went into action around Oosterbeek. With the failure of Operation Market Garden, the battalion was sent south to oppose the US drive and subsequent assault on the city of Aachen, which resulted in fierce and bloody fighting which lasted through until the end of October. At the end of November, the 3rd Company registered its claims for the period of operation with the Tiger II as 222 tanks, 189 anti-tank guns, 24 guns and 32 trucks destroyed. Thereafter, the battalion was earmarked for the Ardennes offensive. Contrary to the popular misconception, few King Tigers were employed by the Germans in their Ardennes offensive, otherwise known as the Battle of the Bulge, when launched on December 16, 1944. Only the SS Heavy Tank Battalion 501 and Army Heavy Tank Battalion 506 were actually employed. In the case of the former unit, which was attached to the Leibstandarte during the offensive, the decision was taken not to employ them at the point of the advance because of the problems caused by their width and heavy weight on the narrow icy roads. Nor were they employed as a unit, rather they were used piecemeal in street fighting and in the forests. In the offensive, Battalion 506 was used in the assault on Malmedy and served in the battle for Bastogne and were engaged in heavy fighting into January. A number of the Tiger IIs were abandoned by their crews when their fuel ran out, while others were destroyed by Allied fighter bombers or successfully stalked by US tank destroyers. The SS Heavy Tank Battalion 501 was later to report that during combat operations in the Battle of the Bulge, it had lost a total of 13 King Tigers. One of the rarer vehicles employed by the Germans in the offensive, and later abandoned, was an early Tiger I belonging to Panzerabteilung 301. This was a Funklenk, or command tank for 3 Borgward B4 tracked demolition vehicles of a similar type seen earlier in this video in the footage of the Warsaw Uprising. As the Allies advanced into Germany, the last great natural defensive barrier was the Rhine. This, however, was breached in early March when the US Army discovered to its immense good fortune that the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen was still standing. A bridgehead was rapidly established on the far side and became a priority target for the Germans. Thrown into action against it on March the 12th were Jagdtigers of Jagdtiger Battalion 512, although it had seen limited service with Battalion 653 in the Ardennes. This massive fighting vehicle, weighing 70 tons, was designed to carry the 128mm PaK-44, the most powerful anti-tank gun of the war. Although encountered in the Allied drive through Germany, the small number of 77 built meant that it had a negligible impact on the fighting. It was at 0500 hours, on April 16, 1945, that the final Soviet offensive opened in the east, with a barrage from over 8,000 guns and rocket launchers by the forces under the command of Marshal Georgy Zhukov. It took them 3 days to storm the Stalar Heights, which were heavily defended by the Germans, with 88mm guns, armour, and the King Tigers of SS Heavy Tank Battalion 502. Even to the last, the Tiger crews continued to exert a disproportionate loss rate on the enemy. Zhukov, under intense pressure from Stalin, hurled wave after wave of T-34s, supported by JS-2s and assault guns at the German positions. While many of these tanks were reduced to hulks by the long rifles of the Tigers, the German units were finally ground down and then overwhelmed by the Soviet juggernaut.